You gotta get that out there. It's not just limited. It is ASRock majority, but it's not ASRock limited. All right. Good morning, everyone. So we're gonna go over the 9800X3D dying in ASRock motherboards. The majority of them are ASRock motherboards. That's what I've found so far, is just the majority of them are ASRock. Is this an ASRock specific thing? No, but majority of them are ASRock. So after endless bad news stories concerning buggy, borked, and broken Intel CPUs, now it's AMD's turn. Yep, the Reddit threads are alive with the sound of expiring AMD Ryzen 7 9800X3D CPUs. Now this kind of makes sense in a way, because they also had problems with their 7800 as well. Bad voltages, just putting in so much voltages. It was just a motherboard BIOS update that fixed it. Probably be the same thing on this. So specifically, it seems the problem is concentrated on, but not necessarily exclusive to ASRock motherboards. Again, not exclusive. To that end, ASRock has released a BIOS update for X870 and X870 boards. However, the update is targeted at systems that are failing to post for specific reasons, but will not fix dead CPUs. So if your CPU is already done, like does not work anymore, crashes as soon as you turn on the PC, it's done. That CPU is no longer fixable. Exactly how many AMD Ryzen 7 9000 chips have gone up in metaphorical smoke isn't clear. Some observers claim that upwards of 40 have been reported on Reddit megathread, while other audits and cross-referencing of various posts put the number near 10. From everything else I'll be going through, 40, or just up over 40 have been reported, and yeah, we'll see what the actual issue is on the ASRock boards later on. Either way, does this appear to be a real problem? As per the moderator's post on the ASRock's subreddit, ASRock and AMD are aware of the reports, but it's not yet clear if the problem lies with ASRock or AMD. And that could be AMD. It could be something with the architect, kind of just like the Intel CPUs, where it comes straight from factory from AMD, and there's something wrong with it. Just putting in certain motherboards would just cause it to error out, or send requests of voltages that are not correct and way above specified voltages for either stock or just crazy number voltage for the core. According to the pinned ASRock subreddit post, the CPU deaths seem inconsistent. Some CPUs dead on arrival, some die within hours, days, weeks. Some deaths seem to be during active use, while others occur in attempted post-boot. So again, if your CPU is, you just turn on your PC and your CPU is crashing, that CPU is probably done. Just done skis. So definitely, if you have an 9800X3D, make sure you, if you do have an ASRock board, update the BIOS if they have put that out already. I will be checking ASRock's page to see what they say, and or check over the new BIOS, see what it fixes. Some users are reportedly finding the BIOS flash box revived their rigs, while others appear to be victims of permanently fired CPUs. Should be fried, not fired. As for ASRock, along with the BIOS update, which can be found here, the company posted a statement on its website earlier today. Okay, so it's already here. I haven't checked out this post. I've checked out multiple other ones. Just wanted to give as much information from different various of sources. ASRock, a global leader in motherboard, graphics cards, mini PCs, power supplies, and gaming monitors, have observed reports on Reddit from users experiencing unexpected boot issues and error codes when using ASRock AM5 motherboards paired with minority portions of AMD Ryzen 9000 series processors. So they're not saying it's limited to the 9800X3D, it's to the 9000 series processors. To enhance the user experience, asrock promptly released the latest 3.2 beta BIOS for AM5 series motherboards, further improving AMD Ryzen 9000 processor boot issues. So this is only going to fix the boot issues that they're saying. That's if your system has a boot issue and not just crashing while using the PC. Yeah, so users can download and install BIOS from the official asrock. See, there's not a lot of people out there who know how to do a BIOS flash either for your motherboard, so that's another issue in my opinion, because they're just going to try to sweep this underneath the rug. It's less than what Intel did, and Intel at least, you know, did a 2-year extended warranty on their CPUs and or gave you a brand new CPU, as long as it's a box processor, of course. The official asrock website or used the flashback function on the motherboard for quick update. asrock also promises to continue enhancing the compatibility of its products. Hell, they should be saying compatibility of the 9000 products, because other products have been fixed, so maybe there's no issues with them. I haven't been searching up or keeping up to date on any of the 7000s or Ryzen 7000 series, so I'm not sure if anyone's having issues with theirs or not. Needless to say that it is somewhat vague statement that omits any mention of dead CPUs, limiting the scope of the issue to boot issues and error codes. That would technically be a dead CPU. People are also blaming Intel because they are getting error codes and or PC crashing. That would do, this is the same thing. This is the same thing. So I'm not sure why they're trying to make it seem less than what it is, since Intel was hated on so hard with their systems, with their 13th and 14th gen CPUs. I'm not sure why they're trying to make this seem less than what happened to Intel, because that is basically the exact same thing. On face value, that seems a little disingenuous, given that the Reddit reports ambiguously include numerous reports of not only boot issues and error codes, but also actually dead chips. So that's crazy. That's crazy that they're actually reporting dead chips. So that means the chip has been getting way too much voltage for either as soon as they got the chip and or was given way too much voltage for no reason. It's also unclear if the latest debacle is related to any way to earlier reports of 9800X3Ds suffering dramatic burnouts on MSI boards, which we covered in November last year. So it's, again, not just an asrock thing. That seemed to be a relatively isolated issue, while these latest failures appear to be more widespread. Indeed, one Redditor reports suffering 2 9800X3D failures. That's pretty crazy, which is, yeah, pretty grim if true. For the record, MSI and Gigabyte are among the other motherboard brands which appear to be impacted. The heavy majority of reports concern asrock. So the reports lately have been, majority of them have been asrock, but not limited to asrock. For now, it's very hard to say how many of the reports of dead CPUs are just that, or how many might later turn out to be boot issues and error codes. Again, that's odd that it's getting boot issues and error codes. Again, people are hating on Intel and blaming Intel for that as well, which is the same thing. It was causing boot issues and error codes, not just dead CPUs, which they fixed. That can be resolved with a BIOS update. Again, fixed with a microcode update. For now, if you're running 9800X3D in any kind of motherboard, but particularly an asrock board, the best advice seems to be surely to be an update to the latest available BIOS. Keeping a weather eye on the Reddit mega thread and asrock support page would also seem to be a sound approach. Good luck. Brutal, man. We gotta make this one a little bit bigger, so that way we can read it. So this one, so that was over on PCgamer.com, and this one's going to be on overclock.net. On an ASRock B650 Steel Legend Wi-Fi. No, this isn't another idiot who jammed into the socket sideways or anything like that. Short version, I built the system, installed Windows, ran it for a few days. This included 4 to 5 hours of gaming. Everything worked great. Next day, booted up, ran for a while, then black screen. I thought it was just in sleep mode, had stepped away to eat breakfast, couldn't get back, so I power cycled it, wouldn't even post. Board sat there with the CPU light on solid and nothing else. That's brutal. That sounds like a dead CPU. Doesn't matter if you would want to call it like boot error or whatever. Yeah, that's a dead CPU. That's just, it's not working. Tried everything, different RAM, move RAM around, check the CPU mount, even flash the BIOS with flashback, which worked fine. Since a new beta BIOS had just come out, no luck. Cooler is an Arctic Freezer 3 420 AIO. See, that's the thing. He's got to be looking now at the voltages. Even though it's working fine, he should be checking the voltages on some sort of hardware monitor to see if the voltages are safe voltages, I would assume. Like, you know, safe voltages, but also, like, did he also check beforehand at the voltages that I was running at before? And now, even though it has a new BIOS, everything's working fine. So voltage is even higher now. So did they have to raise the voltage to keep the CPU working without it, you know, overvolting itself and crashing, or what? No luck. Coolers in Arctic Freezer 3 420 AIO. That's a beastie AIO. Temps when it was running were very good. The only BIOS settings I changed was enabling Expo for the RAM, which is Team Group 6000 CL30. The motherboard recognized it right away, and memory training was pretty quick, which seemed like it was just fine. That's good. Took the CPU back to Micro Center, had them check it. Really was expecting it to work fine and the problem to be the motherboard, but they tried 2 different boards and had the same symptoms. No obvious damage to the CPU itself, scorch marks, or anything like that. They replaced it with a new one. That's odd, because putting in RAM kit wouldn't exactly cause an issue with the system. It's completely on a different, not unless the CSA voltage, or the voltage that goes from the CPU to the RAM, like it's strictly on the CPU side voltage. I wonder if that was actually too high and causing it to error out. With the new BIOS, it was helping it, but then other kits were didn't like the voltage that it was on now and just won't work. Because just putting a RAM kit in, putting Expo or XMP or anything like that won't cause issues like that. It's a voltage issue, and the XMP or Expo, like on AMD boards or AMD products, is Expo. It wouldn't be a crazy amount of voltage, but if there's a problem with the actual BIOS or architect, like microcode, then yeah, there could be an issue with the voltage spiking, which would have caused the CPU to crash or not work or error out. I've been watching all the okay, now he's been watching all the voltage. Okay, all right. Now I have the system back up and running. I'm nervous about the motherboard. Seems like a perfectly good CPU. Doesn't just die in 3 days. Mostly desktop use. That's just absurd just to say. I've been watching all the voltages and such with Ryzen Master, and they all seem perfectly normal. But if I roast another one, I doubt my concern will be as nice second time around. Very true. So what should I be checking in BIOS and watching while running benchmarks to see if the motherboard is doing something weird with the CPUs? Yeah. You should definitely be checking all the voltages. To me, it sounds like he should be checking out the voltage that goes strictly from CPU to RAM, or the VCCSA voltage, which is, it's strictly for on the actual CPU that you raise the voltage to help stabilize RAM. He should be checking that by the sound of it. Doesn't sound like there's an issue with the actual voltage to the CPU for the core, which is good. I would be checking out like the vid voltage, which is the requested CPU voltage, and what the actual vCore voltage is, just to make sure that the actual core isn't getting too much voltage. Should be around where AMD says it is. Not all CPUs are going to be the same, but there's going to be a rough range of the voltage. So yeah, that's what I would check out, is the actual voltage that goes from CPU to overclock RAM or just VCCSA voltage. Could be named something a little bit different on your motherboard, so just search up your motherboard and search up VCCSA and see what its name is on that motherboard. Check out that voltage. Yeah, there's a couple absurd things to even say. CPU just doesn't die in 3 days. Seems perfectly good. Working good for 3 days. That's brutal. Okay, so that again, PC, that was overclock.net. Now we're going to be on WCCFtech.com. All right. How much do we got to read on this one? Not a whole lot. There's some comments. We'll go through some of the comments on this too, see if there's anyone that actually has a bad CPU or motherboard and see what they're saying. Hopefully everyone's having a good morning. So Team Red's in demand. Ryzen 7 9000X3D CPU now experiencing dead on arrival for many consumers. Dead on arrival. That's brutal. BIOS update seems to be an apparent solution. Seems to make it run, not a solution. It seems like the hardware industry isn't having a great quarter at all, given that the problems are emerging from all over the internet. We recently reported on how AMD's Ryzen 7 9000X3D has been a victim of getting burned out. And now, based on a mega thread on asrock subreddit, it is claimed that the markets are seeing an abnormal number of Ryzen 7 9000X3Ds CPUs that are seeing failure in the systems, and it seems that the problem is more common with asrock motherboards, although it's not exclusive to it. Mega thread. This isn't good at all. Well, no. Crap, it's not good. Considering that AMD's X3D CPUs are a top priority for gamers, and given that these SKUs are also hard to get right now, it really is disappointing. Moderators over the subreddit have managed to get a grip on what is happening with the 9000X3D CPUs, and according to them, either the SKUs are being dead on arrival or dying out after a few hours or days or weeks of use, which means that anyone can experience the issue, only a matter of time for now. Well, not all CPUs are made the same, so some of them might be able to handle the increased voltage, which sounds like it's an increased voltage to some part of the CPU. Again, it sounds like it is strictly for like RAM, so the VCCSA voltage. Only a matter of time for now. Interestingly, the reason behind the issue isn't known at all, because no one's actually checking out the actual voltages that are being applied at the time as soon as they get it. Not everyone does that. I do that. I check out my voltages all the time. That's why I generally do a fixed core, fixed like CPU frequency, fixed core, and then just fix the actual V core or the requesting voltage to the CPU to a lower number, which is generally what you want to do, is have a lower voltage at stable. That's stable while gaming, stable while doing benchmarks, stable while editing. Make sure it's all stable for everything, and just set it as low as you can go. Because a lot of times the voltage request is a lot higher than what it is. If it's doing something like you're just ending the game or turning off the PC, sometimes the voltage could spike up, and then when there's no load on it, the voltage spikes for some reason. And then, well, when you have less load and less cores running at the same time, the voltage goes up. It's generally what happens. So let's say you close something out and then the voltage spikes too high, and that would cause an error of some sort. It would cause boot issues because it's got to do its processing at the start of boot up, and then once you go into Windows, it's going to put a load on it like that, and or cause it to spike in voltage. Till now, it has been claimed that over 40 Ryzen 7 9000X3D CPUs have become victims of the problem, with 4 non-X3D processors included in the list as well, knowing that the issue might be common with Zen 5 CPUs. Although this is not isn't confirmed for now. For now, users who are experiencing this problem are suggested to update the BIOS to the latest version by their respective manufacturer. And given that the problem is more familiar with ASRock boards, the firm has already released a new BIOS version 3.20 addressing the issue. For now, AMD has acknowledged the problem, but Team Red has yet to make an official statement. They gotta choose their words wisely on this one. That's what they got to do. So they're not going to put out a word right away. They got to choose their words wisely. And what they should be saying is that they will reimburse anyone that has one of these bad CPUs or any dying CPUs or error correcting or errored out CPUs. They should be giving them a free new CPU, and or since this is an issue kind of like Intel, give them an extended warranty on their CPUs because it could be from certain CPU batches. Is it confirmed whether the dead on arrival issue exists for many SKUs in the market, but the affected units are indeed in decent numbers, suggesting that it might increase further. Team Red is only entertaining RMA requests in your case a 9900X 3D CPU fails. So it has to be a dead CPU basically. And that's what they're not. If you have one that's just erroring out or crashing, they will not reimburse you. They will not RMA the CPU. It has to be only a dead 9900X 3D CPU. Make sure to avail yourself of it in case you are a victim of the issue. Brutal. Brutal. And the new CPUs, which will go on probably in a different stream. There's no mention of these issues are exclusive to 8000 series, 6000 series, or a mix of both. I've seen 3 burnt AM5 chips pulled from ASRock boards in the past month. Again, 800 series or 600 series ASRock boards, and were these CPUs 9000 or 7000 series? I'm pretty sure they're all 800 and 9000 series combos. So maybe there's an issue between these. Something's not working proper. Could be the actual architect, so. Could be an issue just like Intel. Post sponsored by Shintel. Nope. GPU dying, CPU dying, what a year. The non-problem was already fixed. If it was a non-problem, there wouldn't be a fix. Oh man, people. The boards are also killing the CPUs. You say that, but that's what happened with Intel too. It was motherboard manufacturers just setting the voltage on stock settings way too high, using an extreme mode for no reason, and that was causing voltage spikes just the same way. So I'm not sure why people are trying to put this underneath the rug. It's the exact same thing, and it could be fixed with a microcode update, which is what they're doing. It's already what they're doing. They're just trying to sweep it underneath the rug. What kind of tard buys something only turn it after realizing you didn't spend $1,000? Wait, what? Sounds like you're fishing for likes online. Sure. You never know. Some of these people probably don't even have the CPU. They're just talking about prices of the... Don't really care about that. Okay, so now we're gonna be on Tom's Hardware. I like Tom Hardware. They're pretty good at not putting out too much misinformation. So ASRock Ryzen 7 900X 3D processors appear to be dying at an abnormally high rate on ASRock motherboards, to the point where the issue has gained the attention of ASRock Reddit moderators. Moderator Super Soka on the ASRock subreddit created a 900X 3D failures-deaths. Brutal. Mega thread revealing an allegedly high amount of user reports surrounding dying 9000X 3D CPUs. And it's generally 9800X 3D CPUs. It's not limited to just 9800X 3D CPUs, and not just limited to the ASRock boards. So you gotta get that out there. It's not just limited. It is ASRock majority, but it's not ASRock limited. The mega thread also reveals that Ryzen 7 9800X 3D deaths in association with ASRock motherboards, while abnormally high, seem to be occurring in an inconsistent fashion. Some 9800X 3Ds are dying during boot up, while some are dying within hours, days, and weeks of ownership. Some reports also claim that their CPUs are dead on arrival. AMD and ASRock are allegedly aware of the problem, however, probably due to the aforementioned inconsistency. So again, it's in what they set up here. The sole cause of the issue causing 9800X 3Ds to die has yet to be determined. But just from what that one guy was saying about the RAM and that's speculating off of exactly what the one guy said. For my thoughts and opinions is it's a VCCSA voltage, so it's a part of the CPU that controls the voltage for RAM. So for overclocking, you get a raised VCCSA. There are some motherboards that or RAM kits that put the VCCSA up high, but not up to a point where it's going to cause crashing and or cause issues to the CPU. From my testing and thorough background checking on like Intel CPUs, because people are having issues with their Intel CPUs, and yeah, it's not RAM correlated. It's more or less motherboard correlated issues or microcode updates that would help fix it, which is a microcode issue built strictly in right into the architect. One potential workaround mentioned in the thread is a BIOS flashback reversion is to an older ASRock BIOS. At least one report claims to have revived a 9800X 3D by using BIOS flashback. Again, but they're saying revived, but it could be damaged. The Megathread creator comment recommends the 9800X 3D owners with ASRock boards revert to an older BIOS revision with this method if they are experiencing posting failures after BIOS updating with their 9800X 3D. That's brutal. What up, Skinny? Just got off work. What's the tea? Well, coffee for me, but 9800X 3D. Issues with a majority of ASRock boards. From going over on Reddit reports here, someone was saying that he was having issues also with his RAM kits. He had to use a specific RAM kit, but that's not an issue with the RAM kit per se. It could be that using a higher binned or different like RAM kit that had a different like memory chip on it, so an actual chip that's on it, which is Micron. Samsung's more or less for data centers for DDR5, but it's Samsung, Micron, Hynix, and yeah, we'll have to see what he really says. He's going to be posting more stuff on it, but he's did like an RMA. He got a new CPU, same thing. And then he also had an issue with his other CPU that was with RAM correlated. It wouldn't boot. He said it went into like a sleep mode, but he came back to the computer and it just wouldn't work at all. He tried booting it up, nothing. He did a BIOS flashback. It worked for it. But on certain RAM kits, he put it back to Micro Center, same issue, different RAM kits worked. So I wouldn't say it's a RAM kit issue, because they would have tried it on not just XMP or for AMD Expo settings. They wouldn't have just done it that way. They would have also done it just putting the RAM kit in and booting it up, right? You have to set the XMP or Expo. So what could be the issue is VCCSA, which is a voltage for RAM on the CPU side, and that was an issue for some CPUs, just going way too high. The VCCSA should be around 1.2 to 1.3 volts for fairly standard overclocks on XMP or Expo, which is, like I said, 1.2 to 1.3, while overclocking or some RAM kits, raising the VCCSA up just a little bit can help stabilize it at a lower CL. So like going to like CL28, CL26 on DDR5, you're going to want like 1.33 volts, 1.35 volts. You wouldn't really want to go higher than that, but that's all you really need. And from my testing on different Intel CPUs when they had issues with their motherboards. Just giving the CPU V-core too much voltage. I also checked the VCCSA voltage. It's kind of the same thing. For some reason, the boards were giving the VCCSA voltage too much voltage as well, and we're talking like 1.5 volts. And if that's spiked up, that can cause errors or crashing or just not working, or you'll have a dead CPU because that is a rail that's on that CPU that's getting too much voltage. If that too much voltage burns out that rail, that CPU is done because it won't be able to have any voltage to talk to the RAM, and done. It doesn't matter. It's not a core thing, but it's in an actual like single rail that goes to the actual CPU RAM voltage on the actual CPU. So you got CPU voltage for RAM, and then you got RAM voltage, and there's multiple voltages for each. But a singular one just to help stabilize stuff. So now we're going to go over, like I said, Tom's Hardware. We went over overclock.net and also WCCF Tech. Same thing. Basically, every one of these websites are saying the same thing because it's all on a subreddit, and no one else is really applying any information or helpful information. They're just bots, basically, complaining about NVIDIA, complaining about Intel, some complaining about AMD, just a bunch of nobodies that are just complaining for no reason, trying to hate on everybody for no reason. The full reports include a few MSI Gigabyte and ASUS motherboards. So an issue with like Intel CPUs. Again, we cannot dismiss the Ryzen 7000 series. The Ryzen 7000 series CPUs were also an issue, as in burning up CPUs and motherboards from, again, like the VCCSA VSOC voltage on the AMD board, so it could be ASUS, Gigabyte, or MSI, ASRock, could be any of those boards. The voltage is way too high. We're talking 1.7 to 1.8 volts going into that and burning out the CPU motherboard from the Ryzen 7000 series. And now we got people saying 9800X3D, not limited to just 9800X3D, but the Ryzen 9000 series. And not just ASRock, but majority of them are ASRock boards. And what they're saying there too is that it's not just ASRock boards, but the ASRock 800 series boards. So the newer boards. The most telling issue is that the 32 of the 40 reports come users featuring ASRock. So majority of them are ASRock boards. Unfortunately, that's brutal. This problem could be an extension of the original Ryzen 7000 burning. Yep. And a lot of people just put this underneath the rug for some reason, but yeah, that was a big one, because just like Intel, voltage was just too high, and not just killing off CPUs, but also burning up motherboards. So that's a big hefty loss there if you weren't reimbursed. Burning catastrophe last year, that was caused by badly tuned firmware pushing certain voltage beyond safe levels via VSOC voltage was more or less the issue there. And like I said, 1.7, 1.8 volts into it, and yeah, that's a lot of voltage. It could be a case that ASRock's firmware is doing something similar to Ryzen 7 9800X3D processors, but time will only tell if this is the case. This issue also appears to be different from the first 9800X3D burnout reports, which were the first ones out. People are saying they had the CPU in backwards, so they put the CPU upside down, and that caused it to burn out. So that was user error. This is not user error. That's it for this one. So there's a few pages, and then you can also go on to Reddit and search up stuff too. It's a nice board, the Steel Legend. It's a nice looking board in my opinion. Don't really care for the LED. I don't care for the LED, but it's a nice white board, white and black board. What does everyone think about this? Are they just going to try to sweep it under the rug? Or they could be like Intel and actually help people out with their CPUs by extending the warranty. So if there's an issue with your CPU at a later date, doesn't matter if it's past the warranty, you get an extended warranty. Or are they going to be like Intel and RMA and reimburse your CPU with either the same CPU or an upgraded CPU? So like if you had like a 13900K, they would give you a KS if they had it. If they didn't, they would give you like a 14900K or KS. So let me know your thoughts on that one. But again, from what this guy is saying, so this one, this page, yeah, this page from Wally Westo. He was the one that was having the issue with he just came back to the PC and it just didn't work. And then he was doing tests with the Team Group 6000 CL30. So getting a lower CAS latency. So your CL timing. To get a lower latency CL, you usually have to give more voltage into, could be the VCCSA, it could be more voltage into the actual RAM, like RAM voltage, and that's how you can get a lower CAS latency, just by doing that. And I showed this with the overclocking competition I did last year on how to get CL28 at 7200 megatransfers per second. I mean, imagine they'll reimburse. They should. Apparently Micro Center had a good they replaced his CPU, no problem. No issues whatsoever. So, who knows? I don't know. We can see next week. I can redo this one here, and we can see if anyone actually got a reimbursed CPU or motherboard, because could be an actual motherboard issue, like an actual issue with the motherboard hardware, or are they actually just, it's working with the fix from the new BIOS update. They're saying a flashback works, so that's kind of odd that a flashback is working. But if they're flashing back the BIOS from a newer one, let's say the voltage was too high, causing issues, and that was causing the issues, just voltage spiking for no reason. What if they flashed it back and it's only better because the voltage is now higher, so it's stabilizing it, but it's also degrading your CPU? That's what I want to know. Is it degrading your CPU after doing it, or is your CPU Dunskies after the newest BIOS version, or is it just AMD's side, or is it actual motherboard side? It's a lot to figure out on this one. And one thing I would like to see is actually Hardcore Overclocking or bloodslug go over this one, and or DeBauer, because they can actually deep dive into this a little bit more, check the voltages out before, after, have a brand new CPU versus an older CPU, even though the CPUs are fairly new. And yeah, that could be it for this one. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If anyone watches this, let me know in the comment section below what you think on this whole 9800X 3D issue here. Because, yeah, there's a lot to go over on this. A lot to go over, because do you think it's the actual 9800X 3D? Do you think it's the actual chip itself from AMD? Do you actually think it's the motherboards, or do you think there's something else coming into play here? Let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe if you like watching these kind of videos, if you like overclocking, if you like PC hardware. This whole channel is all about PC hardware and overclocking. I will be doing some overclocking this weekend, trying to get some records, so stay tuned for that. Thank you all for watching, and as always, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to get her done.